Welcome to Taking Care of Business on News Talk 1180 KERN for the very best in Saturday Talk Radio at 1 o'clock. And on 1230 KGEO at 10 o'clock Saturday. And for the best in Wednesday Talk Radio on 1410 KERI, the Christian station. We are now on 1000 KKIM in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And also 3 times a week, count them, 3 times a week on the internet on knookmedia.com, serving Richmond, Oakland, and the San Francisco Bay Area. And plus, you can catch any of Clay and my shows for the last 4 years on the internet at Clay and Marty Show. Your host is Clay Koerner, and I'm Marty Pay, and our incredible producer, as always, is Greg Held. Hey, Clay, that was a great show last week with our own state senator, Gene Fuller.
Yeah, Gene does a great job. She and Shannon Grove both.
Oh, yeah, we're very, very lucky.
And now we have Andy Videk up there. He's doing a wonderful job, I understand.
Yes, he is.
And then we have this upcoming election. We have Rudy Salas against Pedro and
Romeo.
Romeo Abalag.
Egg, but
I have a hard time with his name.
Thank you.
Starts with an A, fortunately, so he'll be first on the ballot.
Yes. So Gene's pushing the water issue, and that's an important issue for us. You know, California's running out of food production because we don't have any water. So, you know, it's going to be an issue we're going to be talking about more and more over the next year. But before we get into our guests, I just want to talk a little bit about Benghazi. It's been in the news the last day or two. Maybe now with the disclosure from Ben Rhodes' emails and Air Force General Lovell testimony this morning meaning Thursday morning, we may be able to get to the truth about what's happening in Benghazi because, you know, these men died senselessly. And I love the way the Air Force General put it this morning. He says, it's not a question if we could or couldn't have made it in time. We should have tried. And we were waiting for the okay, and we never got it from the State Department or the White House. So that was pretty damning testimony this morning on Thursday morning here. And he also said that they knew almost from the get-go that it was a terrorist attack. The video had nothing to do with it.
Everybody knew that but the White House.
Well, supposedly, but, you know, obviously we've caught them in a giant lie here. You know, where did the talking points come from, though?
But that's the history, lie upon lie.
Well, but again, you know, what we need to do is there's a paper trail here, and Ben Rhodes' emails are part of that paper trail. Where did they come from? Who came up with the lie? Anyways, we'll be talking about this more in the future. But we're going to take a different tack. Today we've got 2 great guests. In the second half, we have a friend of the program, author of a great new book, The Thin Wall, R.C. West, talking about the POW-MIA movement. But on the phone right now, we've had a guest we've had before, Pedro Salas. Just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Yes. I thought you screwed up again, Mark.
No. I did the same.
It's all good.
I did the same thing to his competitor a couple weeks ago. Pedro Rios running for the Assembly here in Kern County against another Republican candidate, the winner of which will run against incumbent Rudy Salas. Pedro, welcome back to Taking Care of Business. How you doing?
Well, doing good. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here with you this morning and for taking my call.
Well, of course. So, Pedro, why are you running again?
You know, last time we came very close to being victorious. We were outspent 2-1. As you know, Rudy ran a very vicious negative campaign against me. And despite that, of all the targeted seats in the state of California that the state caucus targeted, we came the closest to overcoming. And as you know, Marty and Clay, it was a presidential election. Democrats came out in force to vote, and of course that gave Rudy the edge. However, you know, we know that this is a non-presidential election. We know that we built name ID. We know that the money that was invested in me in the last campaign, which was over $1 million, that money is going to carry on to this election. And obviously, you know, the issues that I'm fighting for has not changed. 2 years ago, Marty and Clay, my number one item on every literature piece that we send out was water. At that time, 2 years ago, water wasn't that much of an issue as it is now. And, you know, last year I bought 20 acres of farmland east of Delano. And so I'm very adamant. I have a personal interest in fighting for water because we know that if we don't fight for that, and if we don't try to bring it here to the valley, we're going to be in big trouble. And I tell people that no weapon, no power, no army on this earth, no government can bring us water except God. But the key to it is, what do we do when we do have it? How do we store it? How do we deliver it? How do we manage it? How do we conserve it? That is key. Well, and when I see the moral direction of our state, the way it's going, the laws that are being passed, those are motivations for me to try again. And history has shown that, candidates sometimes don't make it the first time. Abraham Lincoln didn't make it the first time. Ronald Reagan didn't make it the first time. Danny Gilmore, in his attempt to unseat Nicole Parra, didn't make it. Andy Vidak didn't make it the first time. But they came back and they won. And for those reasons, I'm coming back and I'm asking the people, give me a second opportunity to fight and overcome Rudy Salas. We can do it.
We're having a conversation with Pedro Abraham Lincoln Rios, who's running for the Assembly here in Kern County. So, Pedro, I have to disagree with something you said. I agree that God is the only one that gives us water, but the politicians take it away because it's amazing what they're doing here, allowing the water to run off into the ocean, and all of a sudden we have a drought, which is cyclical. You know what's going to happen.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, boom, here we go. We've got the drought.
That is correct. As a matter of fact, in 1977, when California had a big drought here, I was talking to Kevin Andrews, and he reminded me that at that time, farmers, they got their portion, 40% of the water that was given to them, the fact that they had a drought. Now, what's changed that over time, and in the 70s, is the Endangered Species Act. And that act has not been reviewed. It was stated in there that it should be reviewed year after year. But the Democrats up in Sacramento have a very close alliance with the environmentalists, and they rather let that water go down into the ocean and not fight for human life. And that's why I'm motivated to go up there and fight for that, because, they play a two-edged sword. On one side, they tell you that they're fighting for water, but on the other side, they've been passing laws after laws that eventually, if you start cutting a person in small pieces, they will bleed to death. And that's what's happened with our water source. In 2009, in 2010, in 2011, we had plenty of water, and yet 2 years later, we're in trouble. That means that we're not doing our job. So you're right, Marty and Clay. I agree with you. It's the politicians up there that have been messing up, and now they want to come back and more money from the people. That is not the solution. They always want to solve issues with money, and that is not the case.
Well, Pedro, we've seen several politicians up in the Sacramento area that are being removed from the Senate for various reasons. Most of it's ethics, and it seems like we have a local assembly person that's been having an ethic problem, both with his own people and with your prior campaign. So are you planning on doing anything about running a clean campaign this year and getting your...
Right. Last year and 2 years ago, we didn't want to get into Rudy's his attacks, his nonsense attacks. One is they have enormous amounts of money, and a big portion of his budget was used to attack me day and night from every angle. I'm talking about radio, TV, mailers. I was attacked on a number of things. They were switched around, turned around. The biggest one, in my view, two things. One was I was attacked on me being anti-immigrant, and that is a big lie, because that is not the case. That would be a big hypocrisy on my part were I to be against immigration. I've always stated when I debated Rudy Salas that I am for an immigration reform. We must do it. But for Obama to come in and give us, little crumbs to my people and say, vote for me, and then parallel with that, he's been deporting people like crazy from left to right. That's why I did not agree with that DREAM Act. I believe that if it is going to be a dream for our college kids, for the people of this country, let's put an immigration package that's gonna include a border security, worker visas where people can come and work in America and head on back to Mexico or to other countries, and a path to citizenship for these folks. And so I've always advocated for that, but they've taken my words out of context and they put me against my own people, so they were clever to do that. And of course, the other thing was they made it seem like, my credentials, my administrative and teaching credential had been revoked, and that is not the case, Marty. My credentials are up to date. I'm in education. And so they really turn it around. But the one thing that we do, we do have a moral compass. We do have a moral standard. We're gonna demonstrate to the people how Mr. Salas, what kind of job he's done. Of course, he's going to boast that he's done a great job, but it's going to be up to us to show the people, look, give me an opportunity so we can really fight out there. Because again, we know how the game is played. they know that they got to protect the seat. The majority, including Mr. Perez, the liberal speaker of the House up there, he makes sure he is the one that dictates whether a bill passes or not. When they don't need Rudy's votes, and they know that he's going to be in danger, they protect him. They don't have him vote because they have the majority.
Oh, sure.
So
That's
it's going to be our job to demonstrate that to the people, Marty. So we're not going to be a punching bag. But again, we do everything within a moral compass, because I realize that I'm here temporary, and one day I'm gonna stand before God, and I'm gonna have to give an account of my doings here on this earth.
Pedro, when we come back from the break, let's pick up there and talk a little bit more about the campaign.
Okay, thank you.
We'll be back in a moment on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio News Talk 1180.